So now that we know about moles and how to calculate molar mass, it's important to know how to convert between grams and moles. The main reason why is because since moles is a measure of the number of particles, we can't really count the number of particles. What we can do though, in lab, we're talking in a practical sense, when we're in lab working with chemicals, we mass things out. So we measure that in grams. But if we're going to compare the amounts of two different chemicals or two different compounds, we need to compare them in moles. So it's important to be able to go back and forth between grams and moles for lots of different purposes. So in order to do this, the main thing that you need is you need the molar mass. So we're going to put all of that molar mass practice to use. So at the start of each conversion, if you're not given the molar mass, that's the very first thing you should do. When in doubt, calculate molar mass. To go from grams to moles, we're going to set up kind of a generic formula for this. And we're going to use our dimensional analysis. So we're going to start with grams, because that's what we're given in the problem. And then we're going to set up a conversion factor. Now our conversion factor is going to be our molar mass. Remember, the units for molar mass are grams per mole. So we look at it as X number of grams in 1 mole of the substance. So those you can flip around. You can say in 1 mole of substance it has this many grams. So we're going to put grams on the bottom. And this will be your molar mass. So this number that goes right here, that's the number that you calculate for molar mass. Since we put grams on the bottom, that means our grams units will cancel. Molar mass is the number of grams in 1 mole. So 1 mole will go on top. We'll be left with our moles units. And that's how we convert from grams to moles. So you're basically going to take your number of grams and you're going to divide by the molar mass. To go the other way, to go from moles to grams, you're basically going to do the opposite. So we start with moles because that's our given. Set up our conversion factor. Our moles units is going to go on the bottom. We always know that it's X number of grams in 1 mole, so a 1 is going to go with moles. And then grams will go on top. And then this number is our molar mass. So the number that you calculate for your molar mass is always going to go with your grams unit. So if you set up your units first, and then you know wherever you put your grams, whether it's on the top or the bottom of your conversion factor, your number for molar mass is going to go with the grams. So then we're going to multiply moles times the molar mass. Our moles units will cancel and we'll be left with grams. Oops, that's an S. So let's walk through a couple of examples, more than just setting up the generic. So let's go through 2 gram to mole examples. So my first one says convert 20 grams of NH3 to moles. So I'm not given a molar mass, so when in doubt, calculate molar mass. That's the first thing I'm going to do. So I'm going to add together 1 nitrogen and 3 hydrogens. So nitrogen has a molar mass of 14.007. Hydrogen is 1.0079. I'm going to multiply that by 3. And I get a molar mass, I'm going to abbreviate it MM, of 17.0307 grams per mole. So those numbers, the 14 and the 1, I got right off the periodic table. So we're just calculating molar mass like we have before. So now I'm going to set up my problem. So I have 20 grams. I'm going to set up my conversion factor. I'm going to put grams on the bottom and moles on the top. That way my grams units will cancel. Now I know that a 1 always goes with the moles units, and my molar mass number always goes with my grams. So I'll be left with my moles units. Then I'm going to do 20 times 1 divided by 17.0307. And I get 1.17 if I round to 2 decimal places. So in 20 grams of NH3, it's the same as 1.17 moles of NH3. Let's look at one more example for grams to moles. How many moles is 150 grams of sodium? Should be a question mark. Okay, so same thing. I don't have a molar mass, so the first thing I need to do is find my molar mass. Since it's just an element, it's just the number off the periodic table. So molar mass of sodium is 22.990 grams per mole. So now when I set up my problem, I'm going to start with my given. So I'm going to start with 150 grams. set up my conversion factor, grams on the bottom, moles on the top, that way my grams will cancel. I know that a 1 always goes with my moles units. My molar mass always goes with my grams. So I'm going to put 22.990 on the bottom. So I'm going to do 150 times 1 divided by 22.990. And that gets me 6.52 moles if I round to 2 decimal places. So 150 grams of sodium is the same as 6.52 moles of sodium. Let's look at 2 examples going the other direction. So now we're going to do some mole to gram examples. So our first one says convert 2.5 moles of CO2 to grams. So again, I need to find a molar mass. I'm not given one, so I need to calculate that. So I'm going to add together a carbon and 2 oxygens. So the mass of carbon is 12.011. Oxygen is 15.999, and I'm going to multiply that by 2. So my molar mass of carbon dioxide is 44.009 grams per mole. Now, when I set up this problem, I'm going to start with my given. So I have 2.5 moles, and I'm going to set up my conversion factor. So I'm going to put moles on the bottom, that way they'll cancel, grams on the top. So I know that a 1 always goes with my moles units, and my molar mass number always goes with my grams. So I'm going to do 2.5 times 44.009 divided by 1. And that gets me 110.02 grams if I round to 2 decimal places. So 2.5 moles of CO2 is the same as 110 grams, or 110.02 grams of CO2. Let's do one more. What is the mass in grams of 0.15 moles of silver? So first thing I need is my molar mass. So the molar mass of silver, since it's just an element, I can get straight off the periodic table. Molar mass is equal to 107.87 grams per mole. Now, when I set up my problem, I'm going to start with my given. So I'm given 0.15 moles. I'm going to put moles on the bottom, grams on the top. That way my moles cancel. I know that a 1 always goes with my moles units. My molar mass number always goes with my grams. So it's 107.87 grams. So now I'm going to do 0.15 times 107.87 divided by 1. And I get 16.18 grams if I round to 2 decimal places. So 0.15 moles of silver is 16.18 grams of silver. So notice a couple of patterns. So we always want to set up our conversion for our molar mass so that our units will cancel. So you always want to do that first. And then always a 1 is going to go with your moles. Your molar mass number is going to go with your grams. So sometimes you're going to divide by the molar mass, sometimes you're going to multiply by the molar mass, but it's always going to be the same. If you're going from moles to grams, you're always going to multiply by the molar mass. If you're going from grams to moles, you're always going to divide by the molar mass.